The threat is that I think is a threat is find the right operator.
Is what?
Find the right operator.
Right.
Because that place without operator, that the vision that we have without the operator, that it can execute the vision is a challenge.
Yeah, very challenging.
Yeah.
And that's how you can get to meh.
Right, quickly.
So it's license, permits, load.
In terms of threats, yeah. And then challenges are different. You want to add to the threats?
I mean, I think the biggest, I think all the threats that you've identified are very valid concerns, but I think that from my perspective, you know, as like an entrepreneur, almost all of those can be addressed, except my biggest threat is viability of the project, meaning can we find an operator that buys into it and can do it, and can we find money that buys into it and can do it too.
Okay.
So because like I'm pretty comfortable that we can get beer and wine and that we're not going to expand the road and that we can have security and, you know, like these things I think we can address. But you would have much better information from where you sit, and that's part of the reason that, you know, I've retained you guys, is when you speak to your network, is somebody else going to find this exciting? Now, I don't know what the costs are, and I don't know how much appetite people have, but you guys work in those numbers with operators and investors all the time, and then that's why I was saying yesterday, is this an A+ project or a C+ project? Because if it's a C+ project, then probably we can't get operators and investors. If it's an A+ project, it'd be no problem. If it's somewhere in the middle, you know, it's a B+ project, maybe some operators and some money will be raised, but that's my biggest threat. And the reason it's my biggest threat is because it's a blind spot.
Yeah.
I've never done it before, I don't know.
Yeah.
So it could be, it's not really a threat, or it could be, no, you're right, like we're not sure.
And also, if we do a Wazi, for example, it would be probably $1,000 per night.
Instead of 700 or 800.
Yeah, 700 is, I think, is aggressive compared to what there is here, but I think it's viable for this type of project. But then my real question is, okay, what would you, how do you, okay, I understood that you want investors, co-investors, but how much, what is your commitment, what is your skin in the game, and what you can bring to the table?
So part of that question is to be determined, because I've got an asset that I'm selling, and it really depends on when that sells and how much that sells for. I think it's going to sell for close to what I'm asking and relatively soon. The challenge with that, Luca, and I don't know how much you know about US taxes, is, and Jamie and I spoke about this before, the best time for me to invest in this project or any other project is right around the time of that sale, and then I can defer taxes.
Sure.
Right? So if I sell and I pay taxes, then I have less money to invest, and I don't want to do that. So for me, if I can time all of this properly, and I should be able to, I'll have more money to invest. The challenge in the developments like this is the way that the IRS rules work. I can't invest for future construction. So I have 180 days to invest tax deferred, and then I would be able to do more money. After that 180 days, then it's only after tax money, like in my savings account, right? So part of the question is, you know, I could probably do, I don't know what it would be. Let's just call it almost in any scenario that we come up with. It could be more if the timing worked out well.
Can you get to debt
I think we could get that, yeah.
locally?
Yeah,
And how much? Is 50%?
probably 50%.
The back of the envelope, it's upwards of 2.7. So right now I'm getting 2.8 million
To do
total
what?
revenue. Total revenue annually.
60% at 700.
At 800. I
Okay.
used 800. Let
And you
me
used
let me
8
change
months?
it to 700. Let's say ADR for room only is 700. it makes up 60% of total revenue, 60% occupancy. Then you're at 2.5% annually.
Yeah, move it to 65% occupancy.
And how many units is this? 15 or
15.
18?
Yeah,
I use
move it to 18.
3.2,
Okay.
3.3.
Okay, and then they assume a 30% NOI.
You mean room making up 70% of total revenue?
Zoom making. I mean, there will be a lot of activities. So, and F&B. I think that's.
Or you're talking about cost structure now?
Yeah, he's talking about profitability, right? So he's saying the operating
Cost
profit will be
structure.
30%.
Not on the rooms, on the whole revenue.
Yeah. So 30%?
Yeah.
My guess is it's easier to refinance, like once it's built.
2.3.
2.3
Yeah.
revenue.
30% cost structure.
And the
2.3 NOI.
Yeah, and the room revenue is 70% of the total revenue.
60%.
Okay.
Which sounds about right because your activities is going to be huge. Right.
So something of that can be a year 3.
Yeah. So roughly.
So basically, yeah, but if that is a year, why don't you do, why don't you do 25% NOI? And it's a year 3. Stabilized operation. So it's 2 million.
2.4.
Yeah. So it's basically go break even in 4 years.
So you're stopped.
No, it's not sure, but there's
Stabilized.
5 years you go break even. So yeah, it's a project financeable. I mean, you show if you have a project like this with a credible operator and with everything locked, and you can raise, I don't know the debt if it's 50 or it's 40% debt here, but it's something that you can, family and friends, you can raise the money. I mean, it depends on the operator.
Right. Yeah, I mean, I don't think I could raise the money if it was like, oh, Richard's going to do it,
No, it
because
has to be an
I'm not going to
operator.
do it.
It has to be an operator.
I guess one of my questions or opportunities would be for you guys to have a strategic investor. You know, is there people through your investment bank or your current investors or your network? Because getting somebody on board who sees how we think and what we do will facilitate the second time. I don't want to reinvent the wheel every single time, right? Like, how do we raise the money now? It's kind of like...
So we, at the right time, I mean, we have a clear understanding and discussion with our investment bankers, our partner. They love the business, they love the industry, they raise our money.
And this profit, how does that sound in your metrics as you look at all these other projects?
Yeah, it sounds good. And this is this is at the year 3, year 4. I think it's acceptable.
I think, let's just say that you guys shook my hand and said, Richard, we don't think this is great. C+, you could probably do it. You could be in the $300 range and compete with the TPs that we saw. Like if you want, like that's sort of what we think.
Worst case.
But that's sort of what we're thinking.
Okay.
Then I would decide, well, all right, maybe I want to buy it on my own and just use it for myself. So I guess my question is to you, if you're saying you'd have to own the land before we can get really serious with the operators and the fundraising, which I completely understand, is, well, how good is this opportunity and this land and this geography and this, like, that's where I would lean on your expertise to say, I was just in the Maldives, I'm going to Tulum, I'm going to Hong Kong, I was in, relative to that landscape, this is right there, and we think we can get an operator, and we think we can raise the money, or we're somewhere in the middle, we're not sure. Because I don't want to go buy the thing and be like, all right, guys, now what? And you're like, oh, well, it's kind of like a C+.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
We're going to give it our best.
Richard, plan B is private to use.
Right.
We agree on that.
Mm-hmm.
And it happens the plan B only will be triggered only maybe close New York.
Right.
Okay, that's one thing. Then plan A would be lodging, adventure lodging.
Some commercial enterprise.
Okay, so is this killer project, is this A plus destination? Yes. Is the market ready for adventure? 100%. Is the site A plus with that road? No. It's a threat. So there is that,
Right.
there is a, so can it be easy to design challenge that can be addressed? Or can the road is just a design challenge that can be addressed, or is a operating challenge and exclusivity challenge, and that at the end of the day will affect the rates and bottom line? I think it's a design challenge, so that can be addressed. We can do a tree hotel on top, a lodge here, and there will be above the road will be circulation with suspended bridge.
Yeah. It also
So
offers
basically
the
the
operator.
resort. Sorry, if you think the resort can have this circulation, it doesn't have to go to the bottom.
Right.
I mean, you can. I assume you can do as besides the zip line, like, cannot be every day, but.
I think it'll mostly be staff in the valley. I don't think guests will go down there.
Yeah, and so if that's the case, if we really do one or even two bridges, suspended bridges, then we avoid why we address it's a design challenge.
Right.
We can address it.
Right.
Then you have at the bottom you have only staff, and you have only security staff circulation.
Yeah.
You have like housekeeping, etc.
Storerooms.
And then you have security. So you have a small gate here, the road in between. You have the roof, the bridge on top, and maybe that is the way how to avoid it,
Yeah.
to address it.
Right.
And if, like you
Thinking
said yesterday,
creative.
as guests are coming in and out on the property on snowmobiles and side by sides, whatever it is, as public people are also doing that, guests won't necessarily know the difference. Like if they just hear it, you
Right.
know, if they're sitting on their veranda and they just
right.
hear it, they don't know.
You're right. There is that part of the threat is not just the access and security; is the noise. That was we didn't discuss it today. There is the noise. Is it the noise? If it's just an ATV, I mean, is the noise a problem?
Mm-hmm.
But
Yeah.
so going back to your, this is not a plus site because there is this threat of the.
Yeah.
But is it a plus site in terms of access to the national park? Absolutely. That it's pretty cool. I mean, it's in the corners it's
Right.
not just on one side; it's on both
Right.
two sides. So you should have part of the things to do is have an option for the site next door. That's part
Yeah,
of
at
the
the top.
part of the due diligence is have an option to try to get an option by direct contact for the next door.
Yeah, I mean, that would take care of a lot of things, right? Because then all of a sudden we may not need the
You protect
place
yourself.
in the valley. We could probably have, because that guy has some other access up there, presumably.
Yeah, but also it's protect yourself.
Yeah,
And
right.
also it's a phase two, for a phase two
Right.
for a project, you will do some residential that you feel safe for yourself, And then it's a long-term short, you do residential, you do residences now. But you
So-
go to the pyramids, but it's a second phase.
So in the vision that we're talking about, you think this is marketable to operators and people that would invest?
Yeah.
To the
Like-
right operators.
Right. Well, that's,
I think even a place like yesterday we went to, I don't know anything about them, but if you present...
Which one? Snake River, the one with the golf?
No, that one I don't see because they can do it in they have a lot of land there to play. So why to invest something on the
So
Navasa?
which place are?
But they want it with the same design.
Oh, the Jackson Hotel.
Oh, Jackson.
Yeah, I mean it's something like it's a cool place and it's I don't know. I mean
There's a lot of cool places like that. I mean, that the people that own, I think it's the Anvil that we went to.
Mhm.
I think they have multiple
You
different
know,
properties
yeah,
and investments, and they're looking to do stuff.
Think about if another case is to have somebody that can operate it, and then you put on you just market it as a tree hotel. In terms of exposure,
Yeah.
you have a global exposure, second tree hotel in the world, and then they will eventually will grow. And you have a local operator, so efficiency in HR and purchasing, they already have 60-70% occupancy on this, I assume, in this hotel. So they're established in Jackson Hole. I mean, that probably is another solution. And these guys, I assume, it will be good for them to have a sister property.
Of course.
Because first of all, it doesn't compete because the one is an outdoor
Right.
venture,
Yeah.
and this is
One's
in
in
the
town.
town too. They will have synergies in HR, purchasing. They will have synergies.
Yeah, well, right now what happens is people stay there and then they leave their property to go somewhere else, and they capture zero revenue when they leave. So if they leave their hotel to go do an adventure a couple of days near Yellowstone,
Yeah.
they're capturing some revenue.
Yeah.
Right?
And then
So-
if we add, if we put Tree Hotel as a co-brand there, oh my gosh! Even the one hotel in the town, they will benefit.
Right. As we talk about it, it becomes clear that this area can support something like this, right?
Mhm.
Like, people are already coming here for adventure. Some people would come here because of the adventure. There's tons of programming and things for people to do. I think we're going to find a very willing partner in Victor. That's my own belief in all these threats. I think they're going to look at this and say,
Yeah.
we could finally be a destination, like we're going to have people coming here. And so I think that that's great. And then I think whether it's the operators or venture partners or, I think this is going to be a sexy project that gets a lot of attention. So I think in some regards it's going to help you guys get your name in the US and or more press. It's going to help me get a name in the US and or more press and all these people, right? So this isn't like our 17th project and we just going through, like, everybody who's on board has to share the vision and the excitement and want
Yeah.
that sort of either breakthrough or ability to take their own game to the next level, because at these rates and what we're talking about from an experience perspective, it's going to be one of a kind for some period of time. I think it's sustainable forever because Yellowstone's not going anywhere, Jackson's not going anywhere, so it's not like a flash in the pan.
Right.
But I think when people see what we've envisioned and doing, and photos of the snowmobile entrance and the zip line and this, and then you go in the back country and have your hot cider, it would be like, wow. And also even like, how did this not exist?
Yeah.
Like it'll be so obvious at that point.
Yeah. And I mean, we were smart about starting with the cons and the threats and the weaknesses, but we haven't even really scratched the surface in terms of strengths. So, like, if we had to break it down, yes, it's not an A+ site and with the threat of the road. But
Okay, so can we, aside from the road, let's just say that the road didn't exist. The landscape, the views, the access, like all of that, is that now approaching A+? Like, is the only reason the site's not an A+ because of the road? Or
Yeah.
we're not sure about Victor,
No.
we don't know about,
I
it's
think
too
it's-
steep, like,
The steepness is a cost.
but that's it,
No,
right?
I'm sorry. It's an operational. It's a cost. Construction cost. Is,
Operational hardship.
Operational is hassle.
Mm-hmm.
Additional budget and resulted by an amazing design.
Yeah.
Right,
And,
and
that's
so-
the thing.
so-
the result is just something so unique.
Well, that's
and
where I come back to.
interesting.
So, like, I view that as actually a strength, right?
Yeah.
Because money could kill the deal. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying like money's no object. I'm not a billionaire and I don't pretend to be. So money is important. But all things being equal, if we can get the right partners and we can get the money, then I take the steepness and the challenges and all that because that's what makes it super unique,
Yeah.
right? Like, I wouldn't say, give me everything and put it in flat.
Yeah.
Because because then all of a sudden we're missing the views, we're missing the experience, we're missing the suspension bridges, we're missing like all that stuff.
Yeah.
So to me, it's a competitive advantage,
Right.
although it comes at a cost.
And if you find the right team that's equally passionate, they love what they do, they buy into the vision, they love that lifestyle, then as an ex-GM, like I would take that any day.
Right.
I would rather run a safari in the middle of freaking nowhere than run a Holiday Inn next to the airport within the city.
Right, and
You
make
know?
twice as much.
Yeah.
Right, like it's not.
Yeah. I mean, you do it for the lifestyle, you do it because you love it, because you buy into it. You just have to find the right team.
So
And I think, but that goes back to, it's easier to find the right team for a sexy project.
Yes.
And something that's new and filled with adventure, and we're in the right place to do new filled with adventure.
So we went through the timeline. So let's say you go hard on the Q4. You close
What do we mean by go hard?
down payment,
Okay.
not refund. Uh,
Earnest money.
Yeah, right.
So what do you need for I understand the trigger. You understand you don't. If you resolve the threats, address the threats, you will. If you want to avoid to lose the opportunity, and so you go hard. Otherwise, you wait until Q1 in order to close and decide one deal and open.
Right.
and close.
There's a little bit of a benefit too in waiting, of course, is that the property's for sale for longer and they might lower the price. I mean, it's a risk. They could also sell it.
Yeah.
But we've already told the broker, if you get any activity, make sure you give us a ring.
Okay.
Right.
That's-
And
So,
it's
but what's
low
the
to begin
trigger
with.
now? Is let's
So-
say you check about license permits and all the other flats.
So what else would I need? I think what it would help me commit to the project would be more discussions with you and thinking about it and sleeping on it and looking at adventure partners and just sort of getting my arms around sort of the thing. Maybe some, like visuals or whatever, so I can actually like see what we're talking about. Not like to the same degree as your Nosara tents, but
Nayara.
Nayara, it doesn't have to be perfect, but just start to understand a little bit about what this thing looks like and feel it, make it real, because you guys do this professionally, so the picture in your head might be very vivid. In my head, it's just sort of like, I think I understand what we're talking about. And then I would love to speak to your bankers or a partner or something and just sanity check it, Like, if your partners say to me, if your investment bankers are like, yeah, it sounds like a really good project and we raise money all the time,
It's small.
it's
It's
very small.
It's very small.
It's very small, but then maybe it's not your investment banker, maybe it's your lead investor in your thing, and just sort of say, how excited are you about this space?
I'm not going to present it to
No.
my investor right now. I can present it to the investment banker, that is also my partner, but I'm not going to do it to the main, because I'll go to him when there is some meat.
Right.
Not there is this idea, because I know that he will say, come to me when you're ready.
So that's what I'm.
Maybe raw.
I want to say.
Yeah, but
I want to say this with all due
it's not
respect. Okay, so let's just please.
Styles.
Let's just please recognize I'm not trying to insult anybody or make this awkward conversation, but it's kind of like the broker yesterday. You're like, well, of course he's trying to sell you the other one. It's more money and this and that and the other. You guys stand to benefit from Richard buying the property and then engaging you more, and you have confidence and you know what you know and so on. It would be helpful for me to hear somebody else, whether they be an operator, an equity investor, a competitor, a partner, somebody. What are you seeing?
Yeah.
Is it growing?
We can have
what's your business like? How actively are you pursuing this? Whether you invest in me or not, like, I happen to think it's a huge growth opportunity. You guys clearly do, because you've started your whole company about this. Your investors believe in you, so like I have a lot of really good feelings, and I'm not trying to insult anyone.
Yeah.
But somebody who's actually going to say, I'd really consider this. Like circle back with me in 6 months when you're further along. I want to be the first call. Look at us. That would help me say.
Yeah, we can do that.
You know what I mean? Like that way, it's not a. And then I think, for me to actually touch and feel and hear from a third independent party, whether they do something with this or they don't, that this has some merit. You know, maybe. I don't know, maybe you guys show Graham some of the photos or the videos if we have anything that's worthwhile and get his. Is he more technical? Is he on the.
It's 100%. No, it's not true. It's
And creative.
No, it's not 100% technical. He's creative, he's technical. He will be the person design and develop the
So
project.
does it make sense to show him either the SWOT analysis and or some videos and see if he's like, guys, the road is a deal killer. Like, what if he comes back and says, I understand that you have it marked as a threat. I have it marked as a deal killer. I've never met the guy. I have no idea what he thinks.
Okay, we can have a call with him as well.
You know what I mean? Or if he looks at it and is like, listen, the second treehouse an hour from Yellowstone in Victor with 2 sides bordering on what's it called? Like, that's my A+. If he says to me that's his A+, even with the road, the more data points I can get from credible people that have more experience from me, the more excited I get.
Yeah.
Because for me, this is a lot of money. This is a lot of time. It's much easier to just say, well, I'll just buy the land myself and go camping. Save all this other stuff. But I think I would love to have something that's never been done before, that's really exciting, that people love and share. That's sort of my why. And I don't think the finances are going to drive it. You know, I'm not doing this because I want to make 10% on my money or 20%, or if I wanted to do that, I can just buy some stocks or another Airbnb, right? I can buy the neighboring apartment right here and just Airbnb it and save all this. But this is a passion thing, but it has to be commercially viable. And that's where you guys come in your network and the operators and so on. Somebody else needs to help me say, we rubber stamp what you've heard before. This makes sense. We should move forward. And then with that confidence, I think we can move forward. You know, how excited would you guys be, besides like the fees and all that, but like how excited would you guys be to put your name on what you've seen with the road and the snowmobiling and the side-by-side and adventure partners and Yellowstone? Like, is this something that you guys would be like, this is a great addition to our portfolio, this is something we want to do? Or is it just sort of like,
no, but if we said what we said, it's because we believe in the opportunity.
Yeah.
Right.
And before seeing the land, you know, we were willing to come out here and break up the payment.
right?
You know, like, and just charge half, you know, just as a courtesy to you to show that we believe in the concept without even seeing.
Right, and since you've seen it.
Now that we've seen it, we're definitely excited about it. And the more we talk about it and think about potential partners, like, there's so much cool stuff we can do.
Yeah, it's insane.
Yeah, I mean, you see ideas are coming out like this,
Yeah.
and only because it was like after the heavy burger.
Okay.
Yeah, but then you think about the architectural design and direction we can take, and it's super.
It's really
super
cool.
exciting.
Yeah, because here's
That's his
the
jam.
reality, and you guys know this because you're entrepreneurs too. Being an entrepreneur is very lonely, and it can be very challenging. And you just hear people tell you like why it can't be done, and why it can't be done, and why it can't be done. You can't raise the money. You can't get 800 a night. You can't get this. You can't get that. And I don't live in that world, right? Like in my world, I have this vision of what I want to do. I know I can do it. I might hit a roadblock and stump my toe and turn around and do something else, but like there's no such thing as like no. And so I want to surround myself by people that have, and I think you guys do, that have that same sort of mentality and approach and are working on things that you want to work on. Because then when we find out that, you know what, we can't have a liquor license, but we can have a really world-class wine list. And so what we're going to do is pivot, and we're not going to serve hard alcohol, but we're going to have the best wine list in all of Idaho, or whatever. Like, that doesn't derail us, it just makes it a little bit different. And I just want to work with people that share the same vision with the same excitement and enthusiasm, because that's the only way it gets done.
Yeah.
I mean, listen, we discussed that in the first day, is in terms of background and then before and then what we do now, you and I had exactly the same.
Exactly.
So we decided one day to follow the passion, and you move here, and I created Luxury Frontiers, and but following the passion, and then after years put together a whole business, a viable business. We got the
Very
money,
viable,
got the
yeah.
investors on board, and got so it's this for us is our background. It's motivated by passion, but supported by the market.
Right. Cool.
Yeah, I mean, definitely like-minded people. Like all of us have had previous careers, and we all left them for something a lot more exciting and fulfilling.
You're absolutely right. And she was in investment banking, and she decided, I go off road and super luxury or in the nature, etc. I mean, she has yesterday we were saying cojones, no?
Yeah. Right. Exactly.
To go
Big
and
ones.
live and go to Botswana for 3 years,
Yeah,
and,
that's-
now coming back, and so
Yeah.
it's and to say that to give you the essence of Luxury Frontiers, everybody in Luxury Frontiers has this exactly same passion that for travel, experiential travel, nature, sustainability, upscale. We want upscale only. We don't want mom and pops.
Right.
We don't want.
We don't do meh.
Right.
And so, and all of us, it took some time to get everybody. but
That's what I want to make sure is that this isn't meh, right? Like
No.
that everyone around this table, and or Graham or Aaron or Jesus or whoever it is also like, yeah, the world needs this. I can't like. That's when I know I'm onto something. Where once you do it, everyone's like, how did this not exist before?
Yeah.
It becomes so obvious, and that's the challenge. I'm constantly finding these opportunities. Everyone thinks I'm crazy, and then we do it, and they're just like, how did you see that?